Hello, 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 and welcome back to the show. Do you ever feel like you're at war with your own body? Do you feel like the noise inside of your head or from the outside world is in direct opposition to what your body or your inner knowing speaks to you? If so, this episode may be for you. Welcome back to Kreatrix TV, where we create a more beautiful world, starting with the relationship you have with yourself. I'm your host, Kat Moulton, coach, catalyst, and guide, and I help you remember who you really are and inspire you to take the action steps you need to move towards your dreams and desires. I'm so excited and honored to introduce you to today's guest, Nina Manolson. I've been following Nina's work for 12 to 13 years now, when I dove deeper into my own relationship and understanding of food and nutrition. I so admire her work and the evolution of what she's building as a body of work. Nina Manolson is a body peace coach, and she helps people end the war with their own bodies and truly feel at home in their bodies as it is. She's known for her deeply feminist, anti-diet body peace approach. She brings 30 years of experience as a therapist, nationally board certified health and wellness coach, body trust guide, and psychology of eating teacher to helping women create a respectful and trusting relationship with their food and their body. Nina's body peace work is all in service of helping people get off the diet roller coaster and get into a compassionate and powerful way of eating and living, which creates a positive, long-lasting change in and with their bodies. Her courses, coaching poems, and body peace app positively change the conversation that women are having with their body. Learn more about Nina here at her website, ninamanolson.com. And Nina, welcome to the show. I'm so delighted that you are here today.
Kat, it's a pleasure to be with you. Truly, really fun.
Thanks. Well, I'm really glad to have this conversation with you because I know so many women will benefit from it. As I said in the intro, I've been following your work for a while. Maybe you could just start by telling us what inspires you to do this work and develop it at such a deep level.
Yeah, so I'm so passionate about body peace work because I was the expert at body war with myself.
Okay.
Right? So I was like the best. I was like, oh my gosh, what diet am I going to start tomorrow? What is the matter with me? I've tried 5 million things. I've done all the diets, all the workouts, all the things. Like, what is my problem? And so it was a constant battle with, oh, my thighs, oh, my butt, oh, my arms, oh, my whatever is wrong with me. And so that war, that struggle with myself and my eating behavior, because I was secret eating and binge eating and nighttime eating, there was so much unwanted eating behavior and so much unwanted self-criticism that it was taking over. And it felt like this is so noisy in my head that it feels like it's diminishing me and my life. And I'm not doing the things that I want to be doing because I'm always feeling like I'm not enough, right? A friend of mine once said, oof, you are in deep compare. And you know where that leads? It leads to despair. And so I was the expert of compare and despair. Oh, she's thinner. Oh, look, she's got skinny jeans. I can't wear skinny jeans. Whatever the thing was, right?
Right.
That it was just a constant barrage of, I should be doing this differently. I should be in a different body. I should fix myself. And so in that place of struggle and pain, I started to do my own work of healing my relationship with food and body. And that ultimately wasn't just a personal journey. It became a professional journey. I became a therapist. I became a health and wellness coach. I became a psychology of eating teacher, body trust coach, intuitive eating coach. And all of that work together has created this body of work that I use with women to transform their relationship with food and body that I call body peace.
I love that. I love your transparency too, and your vulnerability to share that you were so good at the war, right? And you've learned to overcome it through all these teachings and studyings and your own. And I hear you say the word should. It's like all those woulda, shoulda, couldas. I'm sure so many
Mhm.
women can relate to what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been there, so many other women. So your work, it's so valuable and powerful. And you call it body peace. So maybe you can expand a little bit more. You started to touch on it. What exactly is body peace and why do we need it?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say there's a reason that I don't actually call it body love. You hear a lot right now, thankfully, finally, about body love and about body positivity. I am all for that, but I
Okay.
actually think it's too aspirational for many
Mhm.
of us. This idea, I'm going to love myself now. I'm going to flick the switch and go from having shamed and hated my body for decades, and now I'm going to just completely love myself. The reality is most relationships, even the relationships that we hold dearest and nearest, are the relationship with a beloved partner or kids or pet. There's not every single moment of every single day that you're like, oh my gosh, I just think you're the best, right? Like real relationships have ups and downs, even with the people that we so deeply care about. Same is true with our body. So this idea that I'm going to love myself, and I tried like for 10 years, no joke,
Okay.
stood in the mirror, Louise Hayed myself. I love my body. I love my body. And mostly my body just laughed at me and was like, that's not true. And you're just trying to convince yourself something, because that's a superficial fix. That's like a flyover. And what we really want to be doing is healing the relationship that we have with our food and body. And that's what body peace is. It's creating an allied, collaborative, caring, nourishing, respectful relationship with your own body, with your food, with the way that you talk to yourself, because this is a relationship fundamentally, right? How you and your body are in relationship, and either it can be an adversarial relationship where you're like in the fight like I was forever, or you can be in the like, you and me, we're together. Like, what do you want to eat? What would feel good? What would make you feel vibrant? What would make you feel good? What would make you feel soothed and happy right now without hurting you, right? How do we have these conversations with our body in a way that actually supports us?
I love that. And that's so in alignment with this show and what I do. The most important relationship is the one we have with ourselves. And like you're saying, with our body, and, with any relationship, like you said, it takes time to get to know and ask these questions. So I love how you shared that, and also how you differentiate it from body love and why. In the work we do with the map of consciousness, the lowest resonating emotions are guilt and shame, and some of the highest are love, but there's so many emotions and feelings in between. So you've got to work up that ladder, if you will, gradually, like step by step. And that's what I hear you saying. So really love that. Most women that I've met, like I said, have had this type of war or struggle. What is it in your experience? Is that true for most women in our culture? And how do we end up, how did women end up in this war with themselves, or this type of not healthy relationship with their body?
Yeah. And, I wish that when you say, is it true that most women really are in this war with their body? I wish I could say no, but the truth is, yes. In fact, there was a study. It wasn't a big scientific study. I think it was done by, a big brand, but they came up with this statistic that most women say 9 to 10 negative things to themselves in a day.
Oh, wow.
And when I say that to people, they're like, a day, try an hour, right? Like, and that's the reality. Women are walking by the mirror and being like, oh, really? My belly. Oh, really? Or tugging at their shirts to try to cover, right? There's so much self-consciousness, so much shame around it. So that belief that we're not good enough is baked into our culture, really, from so many things. But right now, where it's coming to us is from a diet industry that is an $87 billion with a B industry. So you've got billions of dollars coming at women, men too, but primarily to women, telling us that in order to be successful, in order to have love, in order to get a partner, in order to succeed in life, in order to, be socially acceptable, in order to have clout, you need thinness. And not just thinness, you need to be super duper buff. And not only that, you need to be youthful, right? Which is I think like a $68 billion industry or something, is the anti-aging, as though anti-aging, like that's a whole other thing. This idea of we're supposed to go backwards. Actually, I'm quite happy to be aging. As my mother says, who's 91, if you're lucky, you're aging, right?
That's awesome.
So this whole anti-aging thing. So the pressure on women to be all the things, to do all the things, to be perfect is extreme. So it's coming at us from this industry that's echoed in the media to conform to thin is the way to be. And a specific kind of thin, which is perfectly buff and looks like J-Lo and, all the things. Like it just gets a bit extreme and painful for us because there's no humanity in there. And our culture is starting to show a little diversity with shape and fashion, but it's tiny. And it doesn't get into those of us who grew up with the messages that you need to track your food, you need to measure grams and calories and, all the things in order to live in a body.
Right. That's like hearing you say that, I kind of know some of those things, but hearing it all at once, it's wow. There is so much information. And before the episode that we got on together, I walked by the mirror and I was like, oh, like it's not even conscious that I did it. So if I'm doing that occasionally and I've learned about this, what is a woman who hasn't had the support or the information, who's just been bombarded daily? Like what is she really going through? And so how do you say to her, or someone like that, what is the way out? How do you stop the warring in this abusive relationship, as you might call it, with your body when you're up against, what did you say, $87 billion?
Yeah. Right. So the first thing we want to do is really notice, just like you did walking by the mirror, Kat. Oh, there it is. There's the negative voice. There's that inner critic. Oh, and just noticing it, because it may seem like, okay, whatever, awareness, great. I know I'm criticizing myself all day, but when we catch it, oh, there she is. There's the critic. There's the critic. There's the critic. What it does is it makes it less normal. So many women think this is just the way I talk to myself. In fact, I get together with my girlfriends and we all criticize our body and talk about what diet we're going on and who's done this. And, oh, did you try this new shake and this thing? Wait, let's stop normalizing this obsession, because that's what it is, around our bodies. And that behavior, when we walk by the mirror and we look at our butt or we look at our legs or whatever the heck we're looking at, that is body checking, right? So body checking is actually a symptom of a disordered relationship with our body, because we're not seeing a whole person. You're not walking by the mirror and going, oh, Kat, there you are.
Looks so beautiful.
Right. You're awesome. Aren't you amazing? Look at you. Powerful human creatrix who's doing all these things in life. Nope. Ugh, what's the matter with my butt? Whatever. Like, it's objectifying and it's body checking. It's pulling us apart as though we were a thing to be pulled apart and criticized. Now, it's important to think about, would you say that to a friend? No.
And probably not, right?
No, we wouldn't. We would never say, we wouldn't be so critical. We wouldn't be so nitpicky. And so we want to shift that conversation in our head and move from that body hate and body shame and move ourselves into a place to start with of awareness, because usually what happens, and these are the two main relationships that women are really good at, which is body hate, body shame. I'm putting that in one category.
Okay.
And the other is body management. Those are the relationships that are sort of body relationships that are sort of condoned by our society currently. You can either hate your body or you can be trying to control your body. That's all you get. Right? The reality is there's many other relationships we can have with our body that are much more powerful. And that's the work of body peace, is moving ourselves into a relationship with our body that is nourishing, caring, respectful, responsive, where we're truly listening to ourselves, where we're truly listening to our own body's wisdom. Because what we're taught in these two relationships that are, this is all you get in our current culture, is either you hate your body or you're controlling your body. So I call that body management. And that's the relationship where, oh, you body, I want you to change. So here's how it's going to go. You're not going to eat this anymore. You're only going to eat this, and you're only going to eat this time and not at this time. And we get into full on management mode, right? Right. I've been there too. I'm going to manage my body. But we also know in that place of management, it doesn't last very long.
Right.
Because ultimately our inner rebel is going to show up, or the part of us that wants authentic autonomy, which is a human need. Right. I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. Back it up. So either our inner rebel shows up and goes, don't tell me what to do, or our autonomous self goes, no, I'm not playing this. This is not how I want to do life. And we push away all that control.
How do we tap into that autonomous self more if we're not taught how to do that or have the role models for that? Do you have any?
Yeah. There's a great question, very simple question that starts the process. Okay. What do I want? What do I really want? Because so often, I'll just use this as an example. So somebody was visiting me this weekend, a family guest. And I said, so what would you like to do this afternoon? I said, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And she was like, well, I'm interested in this, but if you guys want to do this and you want to do this, and we could do this, like literally I had said, what do you want? And so then she was, I kind of want this, but if you'd rather go to the pond or do this other thing or all the other things that she knows we like to do. And then I said to her, let me ask you one more time. If it was just up to you and you were not busy taking care of all of our needs right now, what would you want? She said, I want to go to the museum. I was like, great, let's do that. Right. The same thing happened the next day. I was like, okay, so we could do this for dinner, this for dinner, this. I'm like, what do you want? You're only here for a weekend. And she was like, well, but this sounds so much work. This sounds really yummy, but this sounds like a lot of work. I was like, again, if you weren't taking care of my needs or imagining how much effort it would take me to put on this meal, what would you really want? She was like, actually, I kind of want this. I was like, great, let's do it. That's awesome. And so there's a piece in there of what do I want? What do I really want, without caretaking someone else, without trying to people please someone else, without trying to make myself conform to who I think is acceptable, which is often what we're doing when we're trying to get our body thin and try to get small again, right? So how do we be in our listening of our own self and our body and our needs is where it was the place we want to explore.
Yeah, I like that. And I imagine that place of getting into that exploration place, getting there can be a little different for each of us, depending on how we're wired, or which part of the personality is taking over. And if it's the people pleaser that you refer to, because that's what lit up for me, conformist, really turning in and tapping inside to you. I know I followed your work and I've seen how you tap inside a little bit. And one of the ways it seems through your poetry. And your writing. Is that something that you suggest to women sometimes as a way to turn in and tap in and get to know themselves and what they really want?
Yeah. In
Yeah.
fact, a client yesterday, she's in one of my groups, my Body Peacekeepers group, and she had this big insight about one of the moments in her childhood that were pivotal in making her feel like she had no agency in her body. She went to a doctor and they were trying to fix her about her weight. And they were like, well, there's nothing you can do. And she said she still remembers that, like being talked about, like she wasn't there. And you have no agency over your body. You have no ability to feel good in your body. It's just whatever. And so she was like, well, like at the end, she was like, wow, that was big. I feel like that really impacted the whole rest of my relationship with my body. And so then later we were messaging and I said, would you write your little girl a letter and say, what would she have needed to know right then? What would she have needed to hear? Or what would she have said back to that doctor who said, basically, you don't matter. And your relationship with your body doesn't matter. And how you feel doesn't matter. And you are not a project to be, would you want to say, I am not a project to be fixed? Like, what needs to come out? And so often that can come out in our writing when we either write to ourselves or write from the voice of our body and from ourselves.
Yeah. I love that. I gave a client yesterday a writing exercise. They're powerful,
They
or suggested,
are.
they suggested that she try that on. It is powerful. But what you were sharing about that younger girl with that doctor, I mean, it brings how common are these things? It brought up a memory for me of being in junior high, of the phys ed teacher telling my mother in front of me, like I wasn't there, that I should lose 5 pounds and I would be better. Like I didn't exist.
Yes.
And that would make me better in my whole life and in my gym class, 5 pounds, right? But what does that do to us psychologically when those things happen to us, and how it's so prevalent in our culture?
It is. Well, right away, our body becomes our worth. Our weight becomes our worth.
Right.
Well, where do you go with that except trying to hustle for that perfect number, whatever that number is? Because, I want to be worthy. I want my mother's, approval. I want the gym teacher's approval. So let me hustle to make that happen.
Right. I find letting go of the hustle was really a game changer and shifted. And, when I let go of the number and the people's opinions and ate for my life force energy, and what made me feel good, I actually was lighter than I ever was in my whole life. Not that was the outcome, but my body just kind of finally started to settle in its own set point when I started letting go of everyone else's expectations or reason I should eat or shouldn't eat. And, some of the foods that I'll tend to avoid now, if you are more that induce an allergy response, not because you should or shouldn't eat them, but just don't sit well inside for what
absolutely. Absolutely. We start listening. Yeah, we start listening to, one of the ways that I think of it is I started listening when I was more tuned into my body wisdom. Does this make me wired or tired? Now there's some basic allergy things like, oh, my throat is closing up. Yeah. Like those are some serious ones, but on a more subtle level, I'm like, am I wired or am I tired here? Right. So there's certain foods I'll eat and I'll be like, I was always like, what's the matter with me? Even as a kid, I'd eat pancakes. I'd be like, now I need to go to sleep. Right. Yeah. Everybody would be like raring to go. Let's go skiing. And I was like, nap time. Right. It's not something that kind of gluten for me puts me to sleep. Right. So am I, in our family, we're all spectrum from me who gets sleepy to celiac. We're all have that sensitivity. Okay. But how do we listen without being like, I shouldn't eat gluten, or I should eat bone broth, or I shouldn't do this, or like what works for your body? Yeah. And that ability to hear that again takes time. When we have been in I can't hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm not. In fact, speaking of the body peace poems, I have a a poem.
Sure. Please share.
Yeah, that I'd love to share with you. Let me just pull it up. And it's called La La La, I Can't Hear You. Because that's often, right, where we get into this, like, I don't want to hear what's going on in my body, or I don't know how, right? So this poem
That's
is
a big
called,
one.
this poem is called La La La, I Can't Hear You.
Oh.
I can't hear you. Or really, I just don't want to hear you. I don't want to hear that you need to take a break, need water, need to pee, need a vegetable. I don't want to hear the feelings, the discomfort, the pain. And sometimes I can't even hear you at all. Through the noise of other people's needs, of the busyness of my day, I can't hear you because no one taught me to slow down, to tune in, to pay attention to you. That in fact, I am inhabiting my wisest teacher of all, and that you are worth listening to.
That's really beautiful, Nina. I'm just going to pause for a moment, let it sink in. You are worth listening to, right? Each woman, she's worth listening to for herself. And we are not told that. We are not.
No. In fact, we are most often taught how to override our sensations, how to not listen, right? So many women I hear, well, they got the messages of, just be a good girl. Well, right away, what are we overriding? So many parts of us that are curious or would adventure or take risks. No, be quiet, sit down, be a good girl, and finish what's on your plate.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things that are shut up in that whole
that
directive, right? And we learn that to be well behaved instead of really being in the connection of what do I want? One of the great things about aging is we get a little less well behaved because we're like, I'm done with that, right? That's one of the, in the archetypal psychology, right? There's the princess stage, which is, what do you think of me? Right? My identity is based on what you think of me. And then we move into the queen stage, and then crone stage, and queen stage is, I don't care what you think of me. I'm fine. Just like, this is who I am, and I am fine. So thankfully that kind of, if we're evolving as a human, that happens where we get into this place of like, look, I am not going to be well behaved. I don't care what you think. It doesn't matter if you think I'm sexy or lovable or whatever. I am who I am. That is one of the gifts of aging. For many of us, not for everybody, but for many. And what we want is to be deepening that process so that we can be, and well, what does my body need, and what would nourish me, and what would support me?
So Nina, if someone is in that aging process or anywhere on the spectrum and wants to deepen that relationship with themselves or get to know themselves better and unlearn these processes, how can they find you if they resonate with you and want to work with you?
So the best way to find me is to come to my website. It's bodypeacewithnina, all one word, .com. It's also ninamanolson.com, but that is a little harder for some to spell. So Body Peace with Nina, all one word, works too. And there's a very powerful free journal. It's called Practicing Body Peace. And in it are 20 questions that I would ask you if you were sitting with me about your relationship with your body, about your relationship with food. And it's a way to start getting that awareness and starting to unpack a little bit, like, what is going on and how do I start this process of healing my relationship with food and body? And there's some of my body poems in there as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I hope people will go to your website and take advantage of that, that free journaling. I'll have it in the show notes and a place people can access it as well. What do you want your legacy to be in your life or in this work?
Yeah. So really what I would like to leave, besides 2 kids who feel like they have, what they need to create the life they want, There's that
Mhm.
piece of me being a mother. But
Yeah.
what I would like in terms of my work is really leaving a legacy of women knowing how to be in relationship with themselves,
Mm.
regaining that power and having a different vocabulary. It's why I write body piece poems. I want women to have a vocabulary, a language for the most important relationship of their life, which is the relationship they have with their body, because this relationship impacts every other relationship in our life.
I love that. And I totally agree with you. Before we wrap, then, would you like to share any other poetry that you have that inspires women or anything that,
I
yeah,
would
I would love.
love to.
Okay, let's do
I
it.
would
I
love
love
to.
poetry.
So this is, oh, I got a hair that's flying in my face. This is one called She Let Herself Go. And it's specifically for women who are 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right? Because
Okay.
there's this fear, oh my gosh, she's let herself go. So she let herself go. He said, you've let yourself go. Yes, I have let myself go. I stopped wearing Spanx. I stopped counting macros, points, and calories. I said no to the Botox. I let the gray show. The truth is, I did let myself go. I let myself relax. I let go of expectations. I've let myself be at home in my skin. I let myself have pleasure. I let myself feel and rage. I let myself listen in. I let myself not care about what everyone else thinks. I let myself free.
Mm, I love that. I let myself free. It is, it's so freeing when we let go of all those things in your poem.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's peaceful, right?
Yes.
Bring it back to body peace.
Creates an inner peace.
Inner peace. I love that and I appreciate that. We are going to have to wrap. I so appreciate your time, your energy, your presence, and your work in the world. I love how it continues to grow and expand. It's beautiful, and I hope women will check you out and work with you. I mean, you offer a great service to women. I used to work with a company selling a health product, right? And one of the pushes was weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. I'm like, I had to draw that line. It's like that's not what I want to put out in the world or do to women or be part of that $87 billion industry, so we all have to find our own way. But I really love that you offer such a beautiful alternative for women to step into, if they choose to. I really do. And it's powerful, that contrast. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for all who listened in to my conversation with Nina today. I hope you will check her out, check out more of her poems. They're beautiful. And, hit us up at catmoulton.com or kreatrix.club and learn more about what we do and how you can continue to develop that most important relationship, the one you have with yourself. So bye-bye for now, and see you next time.